John boy.
Lessons from the screen, what we mean is we go through different documentaries to tell you what they gon' do. Give you our lessons, give them our blessings. If they trash, we tell you there is no second guessing. Knowledge is power, but time is precious. And we're here to keep you from them lessons. So sit back as we groove, giving you the review, so you only spend time on the docs that you need to.
Welcome back to another episode of Lessons from the Screen, the show where we give you a review of whether or not a show is worth watching. We waste our time, our energy, and our brain power so that you don't have to. You're welcome. Lessons from the Screen is brought to you by PackSync through the Freedom Train Network. You can find us at www.freedomtrainradio.com or on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or wherever else you get your podcasts. We're everywhere. Be sure to head to one of those places and leave us a review, and then be sure to head back to the website. Again, that's www.freedomtrainradio.com, and leave a review on the show there. Leave a comment, and maybe the person whose show you just listened to will get back to you. Also, be sure to head to www.pactsinc.org. That's paxinc.org. paxinc.org to show some love and support for our sponsors, PaxInc, because they're doing big things. PaxInc is a black activist and advocacy organization focused on developing the black community through a shift in culture, education, and economics. And as always, Lessons from the Screen has a frame of reference and perspective that is aligned with that of the black community. The things that we look at will be looked at with the racial component involved and with some lessons that can be used to improve the community. Not all of them, just some of them, so that you can go back and watch it and get out what you want to get out of the rest of it. Maybe you agree, maybe you disagree, maybe you see some things that we didn't talk about. Great. That's why we didn't talk about them. During this episode of Lessons from the Screen, we will be looking at the 2017 ESPN 30 for 30 documentary entitled The Year of the Scab. The Year of the Scab. I know we all remember that. It is a documentary about the 1987 players' strike in the NFL, during which replacement players were used to keep the league running while the players refused to play. We will also be making some comparisons between what was happening then and what is happening now. And as always, we will talk about a few lessons that can be picked from the film with regards to our current situation. In this episode of Lessons from the Screen, we will be looking at the Year of the Scab. The NFL has been in the news for the past 2 years, but not for anything remotely related to the actual game. You see, in 2016, Colin Kaepernick, regardless of how you feel about him or what he did, and a lot of people feel a lot of different ways, remained seated during the national anthem before a game back in 2016. After doing it for a few weeks in a row, with the climate being what it was and largely still is regarding fanatical patriotism, intense nationalism, and racial division, he was asked about it, and his answer would set off a war between a segment of the players and the owners, the league and its fans, and even the United States president. The president of the United States would get involved. Through all this turmoil, the ESPN 30 for 30 series, still going strong, dropped another gem to the line with all the other gems the series has produced. In September of 2017, we got The Year of the Scab by John Dorsey, a documentary about the 1987 player strike commonly known throughout sports history, the time the players agreed not to play and were replaced by substitutes pulled from all walks of life. The documentary picks up talking about the fact that players did not have a free agency. Once a team signed you, they owned your rights and you as a player, and you as a player had no say in the matter. This was done to keep team turnover low, as is stated in the film. Now, I definitely suspect that other reasons were involved, but that is, for lack of a better word, the singular reason given. in the film's next segment, which was the breaking down of the negotiations between the owners and the players announcing and then going on strike, and then the league scrambling to figure out what to do. And that's when the true focus of the film comes into light, as it zooms in on the Washington Redskins and their particular situation as the league decides to find replacement players called Scabs to play while the players are on strike. And this is where most of the film is focused. The gathering of the Washington Redskins replacement players, their interaction with the city, the striking team, the coach, and the games they played for 3 weeks. But it really is heavily focused on these replacement players, more so than it is on the actual strike and what's going on. Now, as juxtaposed to the Washington Redskins, we're also given a look at the way the Dallas Cowboys franchise handled the replacement issue, which is interesting on a few levels because, well, it concerns two intense rivals. It concerns the legendary coach Tom Landry and the Dallas Cowboys. They're one of the most well-recognized franchises in sports today in America. So anything involving the Dallas Cowboys is going to be provocative and compelling. And after it detailed the 3 weeks of replacement players, it begins to close down by talking about how the season ended and how the players were unfairly treated by the NFL, with a special focus again on the Washington Redskins. At that point, the film rounds itself off, almost making a plea for someone to do something to make amends for the terrible way the replacement players were treated. Again, with the special focus on the Washington Redskins. It looks at what a few of those players are doing currently and talks to them about how they transformed from regular life to, well, not everybody came from regular life because they pulled one guy fresh out of prison. But how they transitioned from regular life to the NFL and back again. And yes, in the case of the man that was pulled out of prison, he went back to prison in under a month for many. There are a lot of gems to pick up throughout this process with regards to where we are now with the NFL. And I'm just going to lay out a few of them in the next section. So I'm going to tie these into a lot of the current narratives that we are hearing from people about what the players should do regarding the current situation in the NFL. And as we know, Colin Kaepernick said that he was protesting because of the treatment that he saw people of color receiving at the hands of police all over the country, at which point everyone got involved. The narrative got twisted. All of a sudden it became about the flag and the national anthem. Donald Trump got involved and it became a very popular political item for him to capitalize on during his campaign, something that he has continued to do into his presidency. The NFL owners have been compromising themselves and making incongruent statements with regards to their actions and activities and the rules that they've been putting in place, and it just turned into this whole mess. And there are a lot of similarities here again because, like in 1987, the players had a disagreement with ownership, with the league. And like in 1987, one of the key ideas to come up is that the players just shouldn't play. Now, in the film, the players immediately lost the support of the fans when they opted not to play. It's really hard for the fans to feel any sort of pity, empathy, or connection to a player making millions of dollars. And that's not just the players. That's any wealthy person. The average person in America is not going to feel a lot of sympathy for anything that they go through. And in addition to the financial pressures that they were placing on themselves, and let's face it, here we go. Because I know when we talk about this finance piece, people are always going to be kind of dismissive. Oh, well, you made $1 million. Why are you broke? Why don't you have money? This, that, and the third. And with that, I just want to try to put things into a little bit of a perspective. You see, and this is something we have to face. Having $1 million means nothing if you have $1 million in bills. And quite frankly, and this is a pattern across all pay scales, all financial statuses, all brackets. The more money you make, the more money you spend. When you get a $10,000 raise, all of a sudden you find a way to create $10,000 in bills to absorb that raise. Your quality of life increases. You pick up a new car, or you make an addition to your house, or you do something to eat into that extra money, and you don't save it. You don't put it away. So I've met far too many people making $70K plus with no family and no savings. So before people start launching off with what you do if you had $1 million, think about what you have done with the raises that some of